Here we are. Well, this should be working, but I have no idea if anyone is going to be here. Well, I gotta go get my other tripod. Hey, all right, there you guys are. So here's what I had. That connected to my MacBook using Starlink. I have no idea why it wouldn't work. So that's kind of frustrating. All right, somebody tell me if you can hear me. I need that reassurance. All right. I'm gonna assume you can hear me. Well, I guess I shouldn't have that. Okay, thank you, K-Doug. It's a rainy day. I guess I could have had a fire right there, now that I think about it. Because it's rainy. And Lima Charlie, the guy from Peru, my chair's all wet because it rained last night and I didn't think it was gonna. And but fortunately I had the tarp over the roof, and and fortunately I had the tarp on the roof. Even though it still leaked, it was better than nothing. All these mysteries, why Starlink doesn't work on a live stream, and why a rubber tarp, not a cheap store-bought tarp. This is like a trucker tarp that I found on the highway, and it's leaking. I don't know. This world is not for me when rubber tarps let water through and Starlink. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna start a fire because it's chilly, and a fire always is nice. Let's see, why is that? All right, so things are exciting around here. I was supposed to be on the road to Las Vegas, but that didn't happen because my truck broke down. And then I finally figured out how to get it running yesterday. A guy came out to work on it. And I know that's not cool, but you haven't noticed, I don't really care about being cool. And he's a really good mechanic, so he figured out some things that I probably wouldn't have figured out, even if I had got it going. So he did the work, and then we found out that it was worse than we thought. So he's gonna loan me his truck, which is my old truck, the Dodge I took to Texas. He's gonna loan me that so I can get my horses moved. That's why I need my truck. I gotta move the horses and take some hay, and then I'll be set to jet, as we say. And then the next question is, do I head for Arizona right away and spend some time exploring? Now, if I had my minivan, that would be an easy answer. I would say yes, because it's so easy to stay in. And there's tons of open land in Nevada. But, oh, in Hot Springs. But I'm taking my car because my van is also broke down. And also I get a lot better mileage with my car. So you can imagine I'm not so excited to sleep in it. And although I can camp out, as I've done before, the weather's bad. Inevitably I get rain. When I went to Texas with my car, my plan was to sleep out on the ground. I thought this is going to be good. I'm going to get good mileage. And I bought a cheap car. Well, every night it was raining the whole trip. No, not every night. Every night that I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep outside. Every night that I tried to sleep outside, I got rain. And so I expect that's how it's going to be now on this trip. So I slept for like 2 months in my car, in the front seat of my car. And believe it or not, it wasn't too bad, but I was really glad to buy my minivan. Living in my minivan is comfortable. I take that same mattress I sleep in all the time, and I don't even have to open the doors to cook my coffee in the morning. But again, it's broke down, so I'm taking my car. But that's okay, because I'm going on a cowboy excursion, and so I can cowboy camp on the way. Maybe I'll just take another tarp and sleep outside if it rains. I just thought of that. Maybe I'll do that. But anyway, got a fire going now, so everything's all right when the fire is going. Every care just fades away when you got a fire and a stack of firewood. Which, speaking of, I told Justin I have crappy firewood around here, but I'm actually burning some oak. I've got a little bit of oak, so it's nice for getting the fire going. Once I bring the cabin up to temperature, then I can throw in the other firewood that just kind of maintains it. But the oak is nice to get things started. But I don't have much of it. But maybe I'll take it with me after all. We're going down to Arizona, and it's going to be an exciting time because we're going to Tombstone. Hopefully I can do my live video from Tombstone next week. I might need to bring my Starlink with me, which sucks because I'm trying to go minimal as possible in this car because it fills up fast. And but I might have to bring the Starlink. So I was looking at a route. I was thinking, hey, I got a few extra days. I could go across Idaho, and then into Wyoming, because there's this part of Wyoming that I could investigate. Because I'm on this thing right now, a mission. I want to find a place where I can go on a week-long horseback ride where it's not mountains like I've got here, and it's not just open desert. Everybody I've ever talked to says Wyoming's one of the most beautiful places in the country. So I'm thinking Wyoming, if I can find a time of year when the wind isn't howling. And I know that if anybody's been to Wyoming, they're going to tell me that's never. So, but I have heard that there's parts of Wyoming that are less windy than others. So there's this area that a guy recommended. However, it might be more mountainous than I'm into. But I could take this route across Idaho, down through Wyoming, and investigate some of this area. And then cut into Utah, up in the northeast, which I've heard is amazing, and cut down through Moab, and then down to Flagstaff. Or not even go over to Flagstaff, go over through New Mexico, which I'm actually more excited about. I forgot about that. And believe it or not, that trip, instead of just going through Vegas to Tombstone, going this route, is only 400 miles more. So that's totally worth it. Now here's the catch. As you're thinking, well, that's an easy decision to make. But here's the catch. My heater doesn't work. It kind of works. The AC is what I'm really talking about, because it's been hot and the AC quit working. There, can you see that? Got the water going. So the heater don't work. So driving through Wyoming without a heater is probably not a good idea. Or a car that I'm afraid could break down at any time. So I just might not do that trip. I've got AAA, so that's not an issue. And I'll have a down sleeping bag with me, so I can survive. But out in Wyoming, it's a different story. So, oh yeah. But then also, when I was on the map measuring all these routes, then I saw a warning for today saying that area, that exact area I was looking at, is got a horrible storm coming in today. So I don't know if that's going to last a few more days. So in other words, I'll probably just take the normal route. Probably just head down through half of Idaho and then down through Nevada, which I was going to do that on the way back because I like Nevada. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to figure out right now. I got my stovepipe going out the door. So yeah, rainy day. I was supposed to be in Las Vegas today. I didn't want to leave my horses here on the property. I could. They'd probably be fine, but just something about it. I thought, you know what, I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable having them pinned up at somebody's property. And I found somebody that's fine with that. Pay them a little bit to feed my horses. So that's what held me up. And so anyway, that's what's going to get taken care of today. But I'm excited about Tombstone. We're all going to be dressed up. There's going to be a bunch of dudes dressed up, cowboy camping, and hanging out and playing cowboy. And, well, I'm going to be playing cowboy. They might be playing shopkeeper, freighter, all that boring stuff that people did in the Wild West. But, to me, it's all about the cowboy life, historical cowboy life. Hey, Royce and Jennifer. Well, you guys missed out on my technical difficulties. Maybe you tried to open that link. So, I'm making tea. That's why I filled that thing up, plumb up with water instead of, when I make coffee, I just fill it up like that much. So it boils fast and I got my coffee fast. Instead, I'm making tea. Let's see. Bam! There, you can see I got my TV set up. I'm excited to start using that. However, my bed's too tall. So I gotta lower my bed about 6 inches because if I'm not careful, my feet push on the TV. So I'm gonna lower the bed a little bit and the dogs won't care. I got my batteries down there and I got the dogs. That's what's underneath the bed for storage. And so that won't hurt any, dropping it down a little bit. And this is my tea. That's how I make tea. So that's what we're doing here today. Something about tea on a rainy day. I mean, hey, there's something about coffee on a rainy day, but also something about tea. So Anyway, if Justin's still on here, he heads up this trip to Tombstone. They've been doing it 4 years prior. The first couple of years I thought I would go, but as y'all know, that's when I had a bunch of animals and I couldn't get away like I thought I could. So then last year I probably could have made it, but I forget what happened. But this year I'm gonna make it. Now a lot of you don't know about cooking with making tea with loose leaf tea, so I might as well demonstrate it a little bit. So this is leaves that if you live in a dry climate and you leave it out, you can actually dry it out before it gets moldy, and you can actually reuse it. Now the thing is, caffeine is one of the first oils to come out when you are steeping it. So that means this tea here, I've only used it once, and I do a fast steep. I don't steep it for very long. So it's got caffeine, but it's got less than this. So you can kind of monitor your caffeine intake, but also it pulls out different flavors. So the longer you steep it, the more the oils come out, and the oils are what adds flavor. And so that means when I use all fresh tea in the first pot, it comes out, with its taste. But then when I add some fresh tea to tea that's been brewed or steeped once or twice, now I'm getting different flavors. So every time it's a different, if it's a different kind of tea. And also it saves a lot of money because this stuff's expensive. So you might think, oh, that's disgusting. It's like reusing coffee grounds, but it's not. You're getting different flavors. You might be able to do that with coffee. I know people have when they're in desperate situations out on the frontier, but I don't remember if I've tried reusing coffee grounds. No, I have tried, but I forget what happened. And then, oh, I gotta warm that bad boy up. That's cold. So the way I make my loose leaf tea, this is my own model. It's kind of, in some ways, it's similar to my coffee making. I make it really strong, but I brew it fast. I steep it fast. Brewing is coffee. Steeping is tea. So I steep it really fast, and then I pour it into my pot and use this as my filter. But now, as you'll see, this gets filled up with leaves that come pouring out, and you got to go fast. Otherwise, when you make it this strong, it could taste pretty bad if you're not careful. All right, let's go to Jeremiah Center was on here. Hey, man, we all miss you on Facebook, but mad respect for I just said mad respect for getting off of Facebook. That's admirable. Maybe a miner or wandering musician or something. Oh, wandering musician, that's a good one. Traveling, not wandering, traveling town to town. Maybe I will go to Tombstone next year. Great to pop in. Yeah, glad to see you. Are you still doing YouTube stuff? Because like I say, we miss you on Facebook. Yeah, that'd be awesome to have you down there. We'll send videos and pictures. Justin, if you're still on here, I gotta ask you about if you want to do any video. It's like I say, I'm trying to save room so I can bring along this bad boy. I'm excited about this camera because I just got this. This is an 11mm lens, and it's a video camera. It's primarily video over photography. So that lens takes really wide angles, and it captures a lot, whether in town or in camp. So I could bring that and we could get some video, but I forget what you said. You hear that? I think that's the sound of boiling water. Usually I can go by ear because it's loud, and then it gets quiet, and that's when you know it's boiling. Probably a lot of you know that. That's basic cooking. All right, so here we go. This is a fast process for me, and it's going to be messy. So the first key is knowing, since I don't measure anything like an idiot, I got to make sure I got the right amount of, get the right amount of tea. Because sometimes there's not enough. So I got to check it. Let's see. Yeah, that's a nice amber color. It's not like coffee. It's not like coffee where you want it dark. And see, now it's getting dark because it took me too long. I don't know why, but my tea steeps really fast. Like if you read about this, they tell you, oh, you steep it for like 2 minutes. Not me. I think it's because I make it so strong. I don't know. But anyway, I'm afraid it's already too dark. Now the thing about tea is if you brew it too long and it gets too dark, it's what's called builder's tea over in the UK. And it's got, because tea has these tannins. A lot of things have tannins, but tea has tannins and they taste awful, extremely bitter. You don't want to eat it. You don't want to drink it. And it just ruins the tea. And that's why you actually go with a light amber color. Not light, you go with the amber color. But this was dark. I don't know what to call a dark color. And so we'll see. We'll see how it tastes. All right. Now let's put a little more. Something comforting about having boiling water going, so that at any time I got hot water. That's the fun stuff about living in a cabin, enjoying that kind of thing. And you see I spilled tea. I do that on purpose. I spill tea and coffee on the wood surfaces, because then when I walk in at any time of day, my cabin smells like coffee or tea. My cabin always has a good smell to it. I love it. Oh, speaking of, another thing that I like I've done is boil fruit on here, and it fills the room. My tree still has elderberries. I need to go get some elderberries so I can boil them through the winter. Come to think of it, I should do some of that mold. Yeah, anyway, I'm excited about fall and having my wood stove. Uh-oh. Last time I tried to use this, it was plugged with a spider web. It might be plugged again. What the heck? It's not pouring. I don't think it's a... Well, let's see if this tea is any good. I also sometimes use a little bit of fructose. Not sugar, but fructose. This stuff got wet, so I have to scrape it and make it... have to scrape it like it's a cinnamon stick. Whoops. Alright. And then the real key ingredient, my addiction that keeps me bound to town, heavy whipping cream. But this makes all the difference. If you're not into tea, I'm pretty sure if you make tea this way, you'll like it. When I lived in town, I made tea for people all the time. You'd be like, oh yeah, I never liked tea, but this is good. So this is my, so worth trying it. There we go. Yeah, that turned out good. Pretty good. Hey, Brad's back. It's hard to drink them with a mustache. This is the best way to do it. And it's pretty annoying. This is the worst part about having a mustache. Brad, do you do any hunting? It's hunting season, everybody. Today's the first day of Today's the first day of deer hunting, modern firearms here in Washington. Let's see, Jeremiah says, I really miss Facebook, but being off there made a significant improvement in the rest of my life. I believe it. I'm still able to make YouTube videos, but haven't thought of a good one lately. Well, you know, just daily updates would be neat. I mean, kind of like you used to post on Facebook, just even short videos. Give people a chance to stay in touch with what you're doing there in your upstairs room. Justice says, feel free to film in camp, and if you want to go live, you'll just need to step away from camp a ways. Might need to keep it to an hour or less. There will be a bit of a meeting at around 9:30. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to do too long of a video anyway, because I think we'll be having fun. Mr. Can I teach you how to make an American stew? American stew is the easiest thing in the world. You just get meat, potatoes, and vegetables, and anything else that your imagination can come up with, and throw it in and cook it for 10 hours. That's another thing I'm excited about, putting the stew on here and keeping it going. And then you just add to it if you keep the fire going. Now the problem with the stew is if you let it cool off and then you heat it up, you're fine. But then if you let it cool off and then you heat it up again, that's when bacteria can start to grow. So if I keep a non-stop fire going this year, I don't know. I'm excited about fall. After my Arizona trip, I'm really looking forward to getting this moved out to my other property and then putting a good roof on it. I'm waiting until I move to put the roof on. And then winter can come and hit me as hard as it wants to. We're supposed to have a rough winter this year, I think. And so I'm excited about that. I got snowed in before out there when we had a rough winter, and it was one of my best memories. Oh, cool. How'd you do on the mushroom hunting? There's a couple I'd like to be able to identify out here. Yeah, that's true too. The Facebook or the YouTube posts are another way to keep up. Oh, Mr. Pearson stew. Oh yeah, doggone it. I missed the Red Dead Redemption thing. Doggone it. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. That'd be a good video to do. Alright, I need to remember that. This winter I can do a... People enjoy my cooking videos. I need to do more of them. I'm always surprised at the feedback I get on those. Yeah, Red Dead Redemption video would be a great idea. I'm hoping my movie has a little bit of a Red Dead Redemption feel. I think it'd be cool to add in, at least in the first one. I don't know if Redemption 2 has it so much of shooting snakes and shooting hawks. I mainly played the first one. And all right. Nice to have a fire going. Now this here isn't oak, this is regular red fir, what we do our lumber with. So it's very plentiful out here if you want to cut it. I suppose that's pretty much true in a lot of places, but I don't know, Arizona and Texas doesn't have red fir like we do. And then this is poplar, which I consider garbage wood. I don't even go out of my way to get it for free. And I just put in a piece of maple. Maple is a good one. But oak is far and away the best. So we'll see how that kicks off. Let's see. Outdoor videos with Brad. I only know a couple due to my buddy, just Chicken of the Woods. Yeah, Chicken of the Woods is the one I think that I see all the time. And so I see it so much, I think, man, if I was able to confidently get that, I'd have free food while I'm out camping. Them, it's the easiest mushroom to find, a bright orange shelf mushroom on dead trees. Yeah, all right. I swear that's what I see a ton of. Man, all right. Maybe next year I'll do that. Those mushrooms actually add quite a bit to a stew. A lot of good flavor and other stuff. All right. Are you guys stoked for Tombstone? Hopefully we'll do a live video. And I wish Justin would let me do it in camp where we could get other guys on from the camp and do the live video from the camp. Otherwise, I might have to go into town. But if there's a meeting at 9:30, I might have to do the live video at 8. I'll go into town, show everybody town, walk around, and then go back. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm really excited about it. I tried to get a good outfit going. Nope, that didn't work. So I'll have a half decent outfit. But what the heck. That's all right. And got this shooting bag. Now the funny thing about a shooting bag, it doesn't work for the cowboy era. And the other thing is, in context with historic clothing, this looks really cool. With this kind of clothing, even though it's somewhat historical, it looks like a purse, which sucks because I'd love to just use it regularly, keep things in it, but it looks way too much like a purse. Now what goes in it? Well, patching. This is linen, this is cotton, because it's a shooting bag primarily. A lot of people think that it's a possibles bag. Oh yeah, and it's lined with a pocket. I just love this bag. I want to use it all the time, but like I say, it's more of an this is for my 1860s impression. My Pa Ingalls / AJ Spawn. AJ Spawn is the guy that wrote the book for my area that I always talk about. Pa Ingalls, y'all know who he is. But the thing is, so when you're reloading muzzleloader, you tie the patching on outside. This is my technique that I use. It's what I was taught. You tie the patching right here to the front strap. That way when you're ready to reload, you just put your rifle barrel over it, put the ball on, and then slice it off with your knife. And then you just let it dangle and it's fast. Instead of pre-cutting patches, I don't like to do that as much. So you tie your patching on the outside, and then the first thing you do is you fill your powder. So you carry a second powder, you carry a powder horn, fill it into your powder measure, and this is also tied onto the strap. So you do your powder, and then you put your patch on it, and then you get your round ball, pop that on, and then you grab your knife, and then you ram the ball down. You've all seen that in movies if you haven't done it yourself. This is what I got for holding them. But now the thing is, the powder's on the outside, the powder measure is hanging on the outside, the patches are hanging on the outside, so that leaves this whole big bag for the round balls, and that's it. Now I should say, my impressions, I'm not portraying like a market hunter, somebody that would go out for a few days and hunt. Pa Ingalls, he would just go out for the day and hunt. So you only need like 5 shots. Because it's like, he's not going to shoot a deer and then shoot 4 more. Pa Ingalls, when, like the pioneers, those guys, they would just like go out for the morning or the day and shoot a deer and bring it back. Now a game hunter, on the other hand, he goes out for a few days. Whew, that fire's getting hot. He goes out for a few days, and so then you need other things. So that's what's going on with the shooting pouch. I'll probably put my fire kit in it too, flint and steel. I'll put flint and steel, and that's about it. There. I don't want it to get too hot. But hunting season is coming and going. I'm missing it. That's when I would be using that bag. Oh well. Oh well. I need to move somewhere where we've got hunting seasons that last a couple months. Deer season here lasts a week, and then elk season lasts a week. So you get 2 weeks of hunting. Well, except if I were to start doing bear hunting. Every year I think about doing this and then I don't do it. Alright, let's see what Justin says. Dead Wolf Resistance, glad you made it. I don't remember if I acknowledged you when you said hi first time. But glad you made it. Thanks for saying hi. Filming people cooking breakfast and hanging around the fire would be great. We'll tell people to ignore the camera. You could do kind of a walkthrough without much narration. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Justin. Make it unobtrusive, but be able to capture some stuff. Oh, and for the live, yeah, that's true. Other than going live, film as much content as you like, flying the wall style. Okay, well, maybe I'll bring that camera then. We'll see. iPhone cameras are impressive, but this other camera I got is a whole lot better. Cheers again. Yeah, so I am so looking forward to this fall to finally get a roof on this cabin so that I don't have to worry about the rain. Because right now when it rains, I do wonder if it's leaking, which I know that you guys, most areas that's a devastating thing. But as I remodeled this recently, I've had rain leaking down the walls inside in the past. So when I gutted this and removed the insulation, I was curious what I was going to find. I didn't know if I was dealing with mold or what. Nope, zero mold. That's the benefits of living out in an arid place like this. Plus I get it really hot with the wood stove so much that it dries out. But that being said, that doesn't mean I want to let water in. So that's why I'm looking forward to getting this moved, and then I'm gonna put the roof on. Can't put the roof on now because out at my other property, a neighbor, he didn't know that I live out there. He thought he was at the end of the road. And he dumped off a big old container in the road. And then there was a truck, an old truck that's got no wheels. It's been sitting there for 30 years. A big one, like a 2-ton, is on the other side. So I could barely get through. Fortunately, I could get through with my truck and trailer. But when I hauled this out, it was at an angle, maybe this way, where the top of it actually hit the container. And so I had to stop, back up, and angle it just perfect to get it out. So when I put the roof on, I want to have some eaves a little bit to keep the water off the walls. And so that's why, that's part of the reason I'm waiting to get it out there, so I can haul it in easy, and then build the roof out there, and then put as big of eaves as I want and not have to worry about running into things. Other reason, these aren't really big axles. I'm pretty sure I'm fine on the weight, but because part of the road is rough out there, I don't want to have this thing as heavy as it's going to be. Um, so holding off on the roof and the insulation that goes with the roof, that'll save some weight. Whew, it's getting nice and warm now. Tell you what. I don't even have insulation on the roof. This thing's gonna be so warm. In the past out there, we don't always get 4 feet of snow or even 3 feet of snow, but in the past when we had at least 3 feet of snow. If you guys remember Snowpocalypse 2017-18 was the winter. Wait. Anyway, it was a bad year, and we also had wind, so it was the wind that made the snow particularly bad because you never knew where it was gonna create drifts and be 4 or 5 feet deep, and instead of just 3. So I got stuck out there. I couldn't get my truck out, and so when I went to town, if I remember right, my parents came out as far as they could, and then I'd walk to meet them. And that was a lot of fun. It was a blast. That was a good time sitting in my cabin. I didn't even have an insulated cabin at that time, but I just sat there and kept the door open mostly and burned a fire. And it was so much fun. So hopefully we get well, I say hopefully, but then I think about all the animals that struggle. But anyway, if it's a bad winter, I'm going to enjoy it. The elk really struggled that year. I'd watch them. They came down. There used to be a feeding station out by my place, and I think they were going to that somehow. I don't know, maybe they were old enough to remember, or maybe it was passed down. It was like they walked to it, didn't find any food, so they turned around and left. I don't know. But the elk were struggling. Did I finish the Texas Cowboy Wrestling book? I finished the part that I was interested in. If you're talking about the Olive, Print Olive, the guy that went up to, heck, which state did he go to? Was he in Nebraska? It got to where it's just boring, so I stopped reading. And then I focused on that other book, which that guy definitely went to Nebraska. That was the Beecher Bronson book. Man, I love reading that stuff. The guys that lived in the open range days. But like I always say, it's like a reverse fairy tale. Fairy tales start out with, oh, things are difficult, and then it's happily ever after. Old West books start with the happily ever after, and then it goes downhill from there. Like this one, it's sad. The guy, he's a real disappointment. He's a neat guy. He loved being out there on his ranch and building his ranch. But then when the market dropped, he was able to foresee the market drop because the cattle prices had been high and getting higher every year. And he was like, this can't last. So he sold off as many of his steers as he could, and then he sold off his share. One of his partners, he had like 4 investors plus him that all shared in this ranching endeavor that he was working on, which you find out in studying Old West history. There was a lot more rich people back east funding the development of the Old West than we really usually think, at least for me. You know, we tend to think of it more as like Print Olive, a guy who built up his own ranch from nothing. And there was a lot of that trying to be done, but the guys who really won were the guys who were funded back east, and it was all just a money thing as opposed to an American, you know, get out there and build a life. And there was a lot of that, but like I say, the biggest successful ones were, a lot of them were funded back east. So anyway, one of his partners bought out the operation, and then sure enough, the next 2 years, everything tanked, and he got out. But man, I read that, And I think, well, why didn't you just sell off as much as you could, buy up as much land as you could? Because one of the reasons they're getting out was the farmers were encroaching, which is another part of the Old West. They used the cowboys' open range to go out and settle things and to move into these Indian occupied lands. And then when they had done their part, the government made all these rules and laws that favored farmers and pushed the cowboys aside. These were the open range cowboys. They were the different breed from the 80s cowboys. And so the government pushed them aside. The farmers came out and pushed them aside because cows and crops don't mix. And then the cowboys got, or not the cowboys, then the farmers got pushed aside. Then the bankers came out, made rules. The rules weren't conducive to the average guy. It's just like now, where the bigger you are, the more you can thrive. That's just how our laws have always been. Always favor the huge corporations. This is the reality of the developing of our West that we need to acknowledge and change. We need to make things conducive to the small guy being able to prosper and not have to sell out to the wealthy and go be a wage slave. But at this point, it takes a huge reversal to undo that, because it was just, like I say, it was just wave after wave of pushing aside the industrious American for the big farmer to come along, or and it's happening here. My neighbors sold out their land to a huge hop farm, and we've got small time farmers around here, but it's so much work. I mean, small time. They're making a living at farming, and they're doing a good job of it, but it's so much work and so much juggling of finances, and land is going up so high that the people that really thrive are the big ranches. So, I mean, that's why nobody who wants to farm can afford my property, because there's not enough money in it. Cattle prices are up, but it's not stable enough where you can really count on it. So the only person that can really afford my property is the big commercial farm. And we'll see if they end up buying it. At this point, I just don't care. I'm trying to give local people an opportunity to buy my property. But like one guy, he told me, he's a cattle rancher, and he told me, I think he said like $250 for my land. And I said, well, it's worth more than that. And I told him why, because I used to be a realtor. I know how to value properties. And he said, yeah, I get that, but for my purposes, I can't pay that much, because it's all math. Cattle industry is completely mathed out, where they know the math on everything. And so I think to myself, well, why should I be dropping my price, taking a financial cut, a financial hit, so that I can enable somebody to farm this property, when the farmer isn't willing to take a financial hit? Like, he can't spend 60 grand more on a piece of land to keep this area a farming area, private farming. So it's what we're up against. Like, I would like to sell, and I've kept the price a little bit lower than I think I could get if I really advertise it hard. But then you find the small-time farmers, they're not willing to take a financial risk for the sake of ideology. We'd like this valley to stay country. A lot of us would. But that takes sacrifice and risk. And Washington's particularly bad, of course, because the liberal government in Seattle is doing all they can to squash country people and the small guy in favor of wage slaves that believe that taxes help everybody. So anyway, that's what's going on here in my state and in my valley. So fire worked out pretty well. Of course, then the problem with moving to another state, when Brett was on here, born 100 years too late, if I remember right, he's in New Mexico, and I mentioned water, irrigation, water rights, stuff like that, and his comment was, water, what's that? Which goes to show New Mexico's dealing with a loss of water. Back around the turn of the century, early 1900s, they did a lot of damming up or diverting of rivers in New Mexico. And because you read about the original settlers out there, and they said it was just so lush. And the river valleys were the most breathtaking places they'd seen. When I read about that, about Lincoln, New Mexico, where Billy the Kid was I'd been there a few times, and he's describing it as this incredibly beautiful valley. I'm like, is he making this up? But then I learned that the river that went through there, it was diverted somehow. It was diverted and just drained the valley. So, I mean, it's like out at my property where it's just bone dry, which I like the desert, but the thing that makes the desert livable is these oases of rivers and streams. But New Mexico destroyed that, from what I understand. And then a lot of that, from what I'm hearing about Arizona, a lot of that's dealing with water loss. I follow a guy on Instagram who's in eastern, like somewhat central eastern Arizona, and from what I understand, they're dealing with a drought there. Eastern Arizona is where you expect to get. I think they do dryland hay farming out there, which dryland makes it sound like it's dry, but that's where you don't irrigate. We're so spoiled with irrigation here, we farm the whole season. But in a lot of places, they just count on the rain. So, like winter wheat, you seed in the fall, then you let the snow come on it, or fall on it, and then you get a crop in the spring. So you get one crop, and it's all done from rain. So that's what makes it tough to leave Washington, because we do have an abundance of water. And water makes all the difference. I love being in the desert, but you gotta have water, obviously. Brad said, yeah, it cooled down finally and then warming up again. I've been seeing a lot of blonde woolly bear caterpillars. Huh. Screw those warehouses and solar. I see it in my area. Places used to be fields. In my old territory, there was a church in a field. Now they built it. Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. Architecture, everything's just going to pot. Not to be too negative, but people don't realize that Western civilization, which dominated America, I believe they're two different mentalities. American mentality is different from Western civilization, but Western civilization is moved with capitalism and just steamrolled over America. And it's all about efficiency. It's all about profits and efficiency. And living is all about living. Like, well, why did you go out of your way to build that building extra beautiful? Well, because we got to look at it for 50 years. And why not make it pleasant and enjoyable to look at rather than efficient and ugly. That music. Anyway. This is why I live outside of society. Going into town is just depressing. We could have nice things. Which, kind of a hypocrite, because my cabin looks so ugly, but it's coming around. So right here I got to build a window, because initially this is where my fireplace was going to go, and so this was going to be covered with the hardy board and then sheet metal as a as a heat reflector. But then I decided to do this addition, which is 4 feet by whatever, 8 feet roughly. And so I didn't need to do this with hardy board, which means that my siding, my beautiful siding, is too short. And then over here, same thing. I did the siding to the end, but then I added on 4 feet. So now what I really need to do is take down this siding. That's 10 foot. And it would fit perfectly on this side to cover that gap. And then I'd have to buy 14-foot siding to finish that side. So, speaking of beauty and going the extra mile to make things look nice, that's what I got to figure out and decide on. I might do it eventually, but if I just make this half of it a window, then I could potentially fill in below it and above it with pieces of that. It wouldn't look as good because of the joint, but I might try that first and see how it looks. And then behind me is going to be covered in sheet metal. Not covered, sheet metal reflectors. All right. Let's see. Any questions, comments, guys? Outdoor videos that Brad says, like my buddy says, they take away all the land and they won't even know what they had. Yeah. All right, here's the thing. Remember how we broke away from England? And what we didn't like about England was the rulers owned all the land and they decided who got to go hunting and who got to use it, and it wasn't the peasants. It wasn't the regular Joes. And then we moved to America, where there's hunting for everybody. There's open land for everybody. But then it started to get bought up. And so we had that president that foresaw the importance of saving out federal land for people to use. And as a result of that, we now have tons of federal land, state land, all kinds of land that is open to the public to use. But there's a ton of land that's not available to use. From around here, it's the logging companies that own up tons of land. And then there's a lot of cattle companies in Oregon that own tons of land and forget about ever trying to use it. It used to be that you could. There's some land here for timber companies that have rules about, yes, you can use our land for hunting and outdoor stuff. But that's getting taken away little by little because all the crime and people that go out and do things that they shouldn't do. And so then we get that privilege taken away. I mean, just right up here, we used to have, our irrigation district used to maintain a campground for people to use, but then they started destroying it. And so, of course, instead of paying somebody to police the area, they just shut it down and said, no, nobody can use it. And that's the route, that's the direction we're going. And even with our public land, we're losing a lot of that, because the more that the government uses this non-management tactic of shutting things down and saying, well, for your safety, we have to shut it down, we're losing the use of it. And the more we allow that, the more the program can say, well, we want this wildflower to flourish, so we're going to shut things down, instead of actually managing and finding people that are destroying the land and preventing them from going. They just shut it down and prevent everybody. So we're kind of going the direction of that we left in England so many years ago, where the wealthy own the land and the poor people don't get to use it. So that's something to think about. Digital ID in UK. Are they already doing that? Funny thing is, I use it on my phone for passwords. And I don't know. It's so annoying to have to remember all these passwords and try to log in. So when they say, do you want to just use Face ID? And you can log in whenever you want. It's like, yes, please. But then where does that end? Yeah, we certainly, with the money and the cars, where they can just shut us off because it's all digital, that's not bueno, that's for sure. And I would say, well, we need more people stepping away from society like I did, and then creating more barter where we trade amongst ourselves. Like, I can't raise cattle here and butcher them, wrap them, cut and wrap, and sell it to people, because unless I set up a USDA approved facility. Now, as you can imagine, it's cumbersome meeting the USDA requirements. What other people do that want to do this, they ship their cows off to a USDA approved place, have it cut and wrapped there, and then they have a bunch of freezers and they sell the meat out of their shop, out of their freezers. So you can't, it's illegal to do it on your own property unless you go through all the hoops of setting up your own USDA approved facility, which is ridiculously challenging to meet. I can't do it because I don't have running water. I'd have to put in a well, and then that's 60 grand right there. But what you can do is sell a cow to somebody. So if I had a steer out here, I could sell that steer to somebody, and then I could butcher it for them for free. Or they could butcher it on my property. So there's loopholes to get around. Or you can set up, it's easier to set up a butchering facility when it's just for a purchase like that. Like you're selling the whole steer to somebody, they bring you their steer, that's what it is. Somebody brings you their steer and you're cut and wrapping for them. But once it's like you buy a steer, cut and wrap it, and sell it to the public, that's when the USDA gets involved. So the guidelines, the requirements are way less strict when you set up a facility of somebody brings you their elk, somebody brings you a steer, somebody brings you their sheep, or you sell it to them on your property and then cut and wrap it for them. So there's loopholes. But people aren't doing it. I'm not doing it because I don't want to be a butcher for my life. If I had more lives to live, I'd be doing a lot more different things. But I'm living the life that is most priority. That is working on it. And but anyway, there's loopholes like that. So we need more people stepping away from society and doing that kind of thing. I've talked to a few people about it, like, hey, why don't we set up a facility on my property? And but I don't know, people don't want to do it. There's good money in butchering. To me, I don't think the money is that great for slaughtering. Also, it's the worst because you got to put down the animal, but some people can do that. I can butcher. I don't mind butchering. It's putting it down that I hate. But anyway, that's ways that we need to step away from society. So, like, you grow a garden, you want to sell it to the public, you got to meet all kinds of strict, stringent rules. But you grow a garden, you bring it as part trade for a steer, or you trade it for somebody's sheep, that's a loophole. So there's ways that we can avoid this, all this society's pressure to conform to its cumbersome ways. But I don't know. We need more people. We need people modeling it. And I guess that's not my passion in life. Anyway, that's my answer to that. Digital ID. We need to step away from society and become self-sufficient. However, if there was a big wave of that across the nation, you can bet the FBI, CIA would start messing it up because they don't like that. That's why all those communes that were popular in the hippie age, they got intervened with and turned into, made the public think that they were all crazy murderers. And a lot of them did go bad, but those were the ones that were publicized. So anyway, all right, this kind of went negative. A lot of this was negative. Maybe it's the rain, and I'm hungry, so I'll blame that. I'm actually excited about a lot of things. Happy Saturday, there you go. That's my real attitude. I'm excited about this rainy weather, cold weather, having my cabin, and having lighting. Look at that. That's a 12-volt light, and I got another one there. And then I'm going to set up, I'm going to set up a third one right here, so when I walk in the front door, I can turn on the light. I'm going to be living like a modern man. Like I tell people, I've been saying, like on Facebook and stuff, the reason for the lighting is that I'm hoping that it'll make my winter more tolerable. Because in the past, I just used my iPhone flashlight for the past 4 years, I think, and which is nice. I like the simplicity of it, but winter's got pretty tough to deal with. Outdoor videos with Brad says that makes sense. I was thinking about what about the people that process game, but yeah, you're bringing meat. Yeah, likewise, Chris. It's funny. I look forward to meeting you and Justin and a bunch of other guys in person. I feel like I already know you guys. I thought it was a crack in the ceiling. Yeah, and it kind of looks like daylight. I like that. There's different lights you can get, like the old yellow ones and stuff, which the yellow is nice and soft. But I'm also thinking about getting, I've got an oil lamp, thinking about getting a second one so that when I want a softer light, I can use that too. But anyway, so I'm ready. I will be ready for winter once I get this roof on. I've got a ton of firewood, and I'll just have to stock up on some meat, and I got plenty of water out there, and stock up on coffee. And then the only thing I'll have to go to town for is my heavy whipping cream. Oh yeah, Real West Magazine. Man, I do want to. It's been nice this year not traveling after so much traveling that I did doing comedy. But next year, hopefully I do get out. I don't have my rooster now, which is sad, but it does make traveling easier. Like, I can sleep in the car with the dogs, and the car is cheap. So hopefully next year I'll get out. I really want to go out and explore. I want to visit South Dakota all the way down to New Mexico. So we'll see. I appreciate that. All right, folks, this has been a lot of fun. Those of you that are still here, and hope you enjoy your weekend. Hope I've given you some thought-provoking ideas, and I will see you next week. Remember, life's a lot more fun over on the wild side.